So, what we talked about last class is we talked about the one-point perspective. Okay, we did the inside the classroom one-point perspective. Okay, now if you noticed, we had red was our perspective line. We also had a horizontal line. Now that's changed now. We're going to have that be a perspective line, and that's going to be on the left-hand side. There's going to also be perspective lines going to the right-hand side. Then we have our vertical lines. So really you only have to worry about two types of lines. The one line is going to be vertical lines, the other is going to be perspective. And then I have two different colors to tell you which perspective point it's going to go to. Okay, so all of you guys need to put your paper portrait style. Okay, make sure you have your rulers, because we are going to be making a vertical line to start.
Oh, is that sideways?
Okay, yeah, that's sideways. Good question.
Portrait.
Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a vertical line. I've got my blue marker for that. The goal when you're making a vertical line is that you're lining up the edge of the paper and making sure that edge of the paper is parallel with your ruler when you make the line. So everybody's going to do that. And remember, just try to follow along as best you can. I'm going to move kind of fast through this.
Yeah, I can't make a straight line.
Yes, you can make a straight line. You have a ruler now, so it'd be good.
Did you say the S word? No, you.
Okay, now if you do look,
Courtney has a big hump in it.
all right. Okay, guys, we gotta stop talking. We gotta focus here. All right.
Sorry.
So, what we have is now we have two distinct points. Now we want this is going to be on the our eye line, okay, or the horizon line. Okay, there's going to be a point here, and it's going to be parallel, running parallel. And you're going to put another point right here. All right. So take this should be at the edge of the paper, all the way to the edge over here, and I made that the green point, and I made a red point all the way over here to help distinguish between the two different perspective points that I'm using. All right. Now the next step is we have this blue line, and that blue line should actually be going through the horizon line, or it's not going to look right. So if this line isn't going through these 2 points, please make that happen. All right. The next step is we are going to make the sidewalk line. All right. So what I do is I line up with my ruler the bottom of the vertical line to the red point. Okay, that would be your point to the right-hand side. Okay? Then after I do that, I will then grab the green marker, which represents the left perspective point. Do that. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Okay, so now if you ever have a question, wait, what is that line doing? If it's green, it's going to go to that perspective point to the left. If it's red, it's going to go over here. If it's blue, it's vertical. If you have a line that is not going to the perspective points and is not vertical, it is probably wrong. Okay? Yeah, these are looking good from what I'm seeing, okay? The next step is I'm going to make the top of this building. Now, this line doesn't go all the way to the point with my line. So just watch what I do here. I'm going to cut it a little short. But the ruler is still lined up to that. So that's what it's going to look like. That's the top of the building, and it's going to go to this point down here. All right? Now I'm going to do the thing on the opposite side with the red. Now I don't usually make them the same width, the same length. I usually just make one side a little bit longer. It just makes it a little bit more unique. And then I take my vertical lines here, and then now you've made your first building. Okay? Now keep in mind, if you are not following the rules of this, things are going to look really bad really fast. All right? So that's why I have this all color-coded for you guys. The next step then is to work on the sidewalk some more. Okay, now I kind of imagine a vertical line. Okay, now this is imaginary, but I imagine this vertical line going probably down to there. All right, so going straight down. It's not a drawn line, it's an imaginary line. That's why I dotted it. And I run that imaginary line I take the bottom of that, and I draw it in. And I go right to the bottom of that with my line. Okay? Don't need that anymore. It's gone. And then I take my green marker, and I do the same on the opposite side.
Mine's a little smaller.
And that's okay. Yours will look a little smaller, and that's fine. All right. Just make sure, like I said, when you have these points, that the points are above, that they're breaking up. That this line breaks up in between the 2 points. Like that's wrong. Like that needs to go extend it further down. Okay. And then now connect this line to that. All right. There you go. Okay. Now, if we're looking at this, this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay. This is where you have to trust the perspective points. So if there's ever a time when you need to pay attention, this would be the time. All right? Because what's going to happen is we've got to draw these lines here. Okay? Now, what most people do, is when they're doing the sidewalk, they do something that looks like this. I'm using brown for a reason because these lines should not be going like this. They do something that looks like this. Okay, here's the problem. If we were to put a door here, which I'll actually put the door in. Okay, so like, let's say we have a door. Let's say we have a door that looks like this. What's going to happen to that person when he walks out of that door?
He's gonna fall.
Okay, he's not going to die right away. Okay,
He's gonna suffer.
he may suffer. All right, Evie, what'd you say? He's going to fall. Look, he's going to slide down the sidewalk into the road, okay? And then he's going to have to frogger it, or he will suffer and possibly get hit by a car, all right? That's what could happen if you have your sidewalk like this. And I see more and more sidewalks like this. What happens is you get caught up in, okay, well, it's angled, and then you just move your ruler. Well, look at where the ruler's going. It's going nowhere. It's not going to this perspective point here. It's not going to, so it's a line that doesn't belong, okay? And that's why we don't want to have that.
Erosion.
Okay? Now, what you do is this. It's a really simple process. You take the opposite point and you make your sidewalk. Okay, now this is where we just have to trust the line regardless of what we're feeling, okay, because the perspective line is correct. The perspective point's correct. Your thought process and what you think is correct is wrong. All right, you have got to trust this process. This is the hardest part, is breaking you away from thinking, I just don't think that's right. I don't feel that's right. Well, trust me, it is. I've been doing it for many years, and it's going to look like this. And the lines are going to get really long, and you're going to be like, there's no way this is how it's supposed to look. It is supposed to look this way. Okay, now keep in mind the lines are going to be getting closer together as they get further away. Almost going to look like they're on top of each other. And it's going to look something like that. Now that is a lovely sidewalk that I could walk out on and feel safe.
Still looks like he's gonna fall.
Yeah, I don't see what you're seeing. Good, yeah. Okay, so he's going to get out and he should be fine. That's a flat surface, all right? Now, if you go the opposite way, okay, we'll do the same thing. So now, and that's why it's so important. I love doing the different colors. And then I'll do the same thing on this side. And remember, sometimes people put their finger where the dot is, the perspective point, to make sure that it's getting lined up right. And it's going to look something like that. All right?
Wow.
The next and final step in the completion of the sidewalk is you want to make a curb. The curb is there to protect the people from getting hit by a car, which is nice.
No, he isn't.
Okay, and yes, that curb is going to be probably that thin when it gets close to the perspective. And you just line up the bottom of this one and connect.
That's pretty good.
Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. Now, the great thing is now you have to make it look like it's a three-dimensional curve. To do that, you go vertical. You make vertical lines where the lines of the curve are. And like I said, if you do this, you have successfully done the hardest part of, in my opinion, of this project. If you get this, you can get everything. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with. Okay, now make sure, remember, we want to make sure that these lines here go to that perspective point. Okay, now look at my example and look at yours. Make sure that your lines, any line on there, is going to be going to either the perspective point or the or it's going to be vertical. Okay, so this one here, it needs to go. This line here and this line here, they're not going to this point. So you did this one well. But then all of these have to go to that point too. Yeah. Good. Yeah. And see now, what happens is this, like what I see a lot of, is this. We'll get this one down like this, and then we'll start moving that ruler up. Now the problem is by moving the ruler up, the ruler's over here. You're not going to the perspective point anymore. So it's going to be off. All right? It's going to be off. And the same thing is going to happen when we make this a brick building, or one of them a brick building. Is that what happens is you take this line here, which is going to perspective point, and you start just moving the ruler down. The biggest mistake that I've seen. And then you're making lines parallel, but then when you get down here, it's not going to look right. Now all of a sudden the bricks are going to be going diagonally when they really should be going this way. It should be going like this. And you build the bricks up like that. Okay? Make sense?
Sir.
Okay, so with that being said, what we're going to do is, the next thing is we are going to take, and we're going to make a building, maybe make a pizzeria off to the one side. It's going to be a small little mom and pop shop.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and we're going to go right with the, to the perspective point. Okay, it's one of those places that everybody loves going. It's like a family-owned little restaurant. Why not?
Satya?
Okay, so there you are. Okay, so that's going to be a little bit of a restaurant right there. And then what we're going to do, we're going to make a little bit bigger of a building over here. Okay, say like a corporate building. Okay, and we are going to. We're going to have an alleyway, okay? Now a lot of people are like, what is that going to look like? So what you do is this. You're going to put in a vertical line. It's going to be a vertical line away from this line right there, okay? So it's going to be, it's not going to be up against the building. Remember, an alleyway, that means that there's space in between the buildings. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this line here is going to be moved a little bit away. It should be kind of almost like a finger width apart, okay? And then what you do is you go in and we're going to put our perspective point here. A little line like that. All right. And then we are going to put in a vertical line. And usually this is where we hit a point of a lot of questions happen as far as the alleyway and where to go with it. Okay? Because this is a space here. So then where does this point, I want to take a guess where the back wall here of the alleyway, where is that going to go to? What perspective point? What? Yes, Vinny?
The right perspective.
Correct, the right one. All right? So now all you do is you take the top and you go like this. Now, remember, if there's a top, there's also going to be a bottom. All right? So the bottom of the building is also going to be going to that red perspective point.
Okay.
And now you've built a little bit of an alleyway here. So now you can actually walk around this building. Now you've made this building look like it's got in front of this building right here, the one on the left. And you can see the city kind of taking shape. Okay? The next building we are going to put in, then we're going to start putting some details on this. It's going to be a building that is both going to have an alleyway, because let's say the mom and pop shop has maybe a little eating area around the one corner. So we'll do a vertical line right there, and it's going to be pretty high. Now because we have this, the top of this one is going to go to the left-hand perspective. To make it not look weird, I'm not going to continue this perspective line all the way through to get to this building. What I'm going to do is stop it right about there, and then I'm going to make a vertical line. Something that looks like that, all right? And then I'm going to go back in, take my red marker, move it down. Now, if we were to look at this, what's the one thing I've missed? Anyone want to take a guess? What's the one thing that I missed that looks kind of weird? No? Anybody? Look at the building. Look at all the lines. What am I missing? Yes?
In the alleyway.
The alleyway, okay? And remember, the alleyway, which is going to be here, it's going to be in green, which means it's going to come from the left. You guys with me?
I'm with
Okay. Yeah, it's good. The sidewalk's a little, we gotta work on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Sidewalk's the toughest part. And the thing is, you're gonna notice this stuff. Once what happens is the perspective starts looking a little bit funky, all right? And you just notice those things, and then you're able to be like, okay, something's off, but what is it? And usually you could ask the person next to you. If they don't know, you can always come see me too, all right? Yep, good, good. That was nice, that's good.
This is
All
my
right.
final copy.
Okay. Yeah, that looks good too. Yeah, you guys are doing a great job. Like, you guys are doing a great job. You know, you're following the directions is awesome. All right.
Let me see some.
Okay, now everybody look. Now here, okay, ready? Let's refocus. Here, we got some time left. Okay, we got to go through this. Now, the next step is this. We're going to start putting the details of all these buildings on here, and you're going to notice that, you know, all these buildings have doors. I had someone put just an all brick building, like let's say the mom and pop restaurant did all brick. And then I asked her, well, where's the door? And she's like, oh my gosh, completely forgot about the door, and she did it in ink. Okay, so she did the whole thing in ink, took her a long time, and she forgot to put the door in. And she's like,
just color the door.
well, what we did is we put a sign that says door to the left, or like door to the right, and then the person just assumed that there's a door there, okay? So there are ways around some of the problems that we do have, but remember, there's no way that it's an all brick building and it doesn't have a door right in the front, okay? It's supposed to be a welcoming restaurant, so we gotta make it more believable. With that being said, am I going to put a door that's this big? Why not? Why is it too tall?
It's taller than the pizza shop.
Yeah, it's taller than the pizza shop, all right? So let's think about that for just a second. I've had people do this. What we do is you take the top of the first door that you've done, all right? And let's say the first door is like 8 feet high, whatever it may be, 10 feet high. And then what you do is you draw the top of the rest of the doors. Okay, now it doesn't have to be, you know, perfect. Like one, and remember there could be a double door
Good job.
or something like that. Let's see, now that looks way better. Now, if we look at this one though, look how long this is in comparison to some of these. Okay, so that could be a problem. So what we'd have to do is make sure we do everything in the right proportion, which deals with size relationships. So something that looks like that. All right, does that look better? Looks pretty good, okay? Now we have a decision to make. We have to think to ourselves, when we're maybe possibly looking up buildings on our Chromebooks, that's a good idea. You look up some examples of some buildings in Chromebooks, and it's gonna help you guys out in the fact of getting ideas. All right, there's gonna be brick buildings and steel buildings and buildings that are all glass. Those are the type of things that are probably going to happen. All right, but I am gonna finish off the doors because I want to get these doors completed. So I'm gonna go to the green point. Okay, there you go. Now, put little like doorknobs on them if you want, whatever they may be. Okay. So let's say there's going to be a sign at the top of the mom and pa's place. Okay, so we're going to have a sign right here, vertical line, vertical line.
We can label that tall building Maze Bank.
Then you can do that.
You put a little helipad on it.
You can do that. I've had
And
people
then,
do help.
and then you can make that picture of your shop Los Santos cosmos.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that's the sign. Okay, now here's where we start getting into a little bit more, like some rules can be broken, and I'm going to show you that. Let's say there's an awning, okay? An awning is like a roof. Now that roof isn't going to be vertical, okay? It's going to be angled, okay? So now that angled part of the roof is going to break the perspective. It won't, because it will not be a perspective line. It will not be a vertical line. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to make a perspective line first.
Marsh Mutual Insurance.
So there is the perspective line right here. The next is this. I'm going to use the brown marker to make the angled lines. Now these lines are not going to the perspective point. They are not vertical. And I'll start out and I'll make them angled here. Now these are going to run parallel with each other. Could be something that looks like that. And then you're going to go back to that perspective point. You'll see that it's getting a little bit more complicated than the one-point perspective. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And then how you connect the awning to the building is simple. You go to the opposite perspective point. Something like that. And then what you do is you make a vertical line going straight down and connecting that angled line. And there you have it. All right. So then what you do, you could get a little bit creative. Let's say it's one that has one of the stripes. We're talking old school. And then it's also got these. Something like that. All right. And so you successfully made an awning over the Mama Roberto's Pizzeria.
That's
All right.
Wow.
Okay, now let's say though you want to even go further with it, and let's make a pizza on top. All right. Let's say there's like a little pizza up here on top. Now, it's not going to be facing you. Okay. So if it was straight on, okay, it would be a perfect circle. But because it's angled a little bit, okay, it's going to be more of an oval. something like that. And then you can just kind of draw in the pizza like that. All right? And then you can put some of the brackets that's holding it. So it's got, you can kind of see it. No, you don't have to. And if you don't like it, you can just completely erase it and it's gone. All right? It's just an idea. All right, just an idea. All right, the next then is going to be the windows. Okay, now windows are pretty easy. Okay, we're going to do this. This building here is going to be filled with windows. There's a couple ways to do it. I prefer this way. It does make it, it's kind of simple. I draw my perspective line. And I'm just going all the way down the building. Now make sure all of these lines are going to the right-hand point. Okay, for me it's the red point. If it starts looking off, it's because you're not going to the point. Because if the building follows that point, eventually those windows are going to get closer to that ground, and they're going to start looking really, really angled if you're not doing it right. Something that looks like that. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to connect those with a vertical line. Okay, now you can do windows that look like that as far as they're really long windows. Or what you could do is you can break them up. Let's say you do windows like that look like this. And remember, they're going to get a little smaller as they get closer to that side. I know, I'll slow it down. Okay. And then, or you can do is, and then what you do is you can erase that one middle line. Now you've got 3 windows. Okay, now, if you look at it, there's a term called foreshortening. Just like we had with the lockers, they're going to look like they're getting optically closer together. Okay, same thing, the spacing here, it should be smaller as it gets a little bit further away and going towards that perspective. Okay, but yeah, you could do windows like any of the ones I've done. I do like the look of the 3 windows. And then the goal is to keep that vertical line going and just keep it the same spot. And that should help with the width and the look of the building. The building has to look correct.
Oh, I am? I was.
Okay, so it looks something like that.
That's cool.
Okay. Now, if we were to put bricks on these, this will be the last thing we do. All right. Let's make this one a brick building.
Yeah, Zach already does that.
Yeah, brick.
You already did brick?
That looks
And
horrible.
Yeah, it's because those aren't going to the respective point. That's why. Okay, but no, but the bricks that you did are right. They just need to be going to the respective point. Okay? So ready? Watch this. This is how you do bricks. I'm going to take my ruler, and it's the same thing how I made those windows. And I promise you, last thing we'll do, you guys have done a great job. Okay, so there's the bricks, okay? And then of course, because we have the green going on the left-hand side of the building, on the right-hand side, where the alleyway is, we're gonna have to have it go that way too. So remember, it's gonna follow that. And like I said, double check if you feel like you didn't do it right. What you do is you check to make sure that the points are going towards either the perspective point on the right or the left, or it's a vertical line. If it doesn't meet any of those criteria, and it isn't the awning or the pizza, then unfortunately it's done wrong. Okay. So that is how you do the where the mortar is, and then when you put the bricks in. Now watch, it's real simple. We got one or 2 minutes left. You can make your vertical lines going down on every other one.
She likes you. Yes, she does. She told me. She said she
Something that's kind of like that. Okay? So that's basically it. What we need to do is we need to stop the video. Great job, by the way.